Report from Santa Fe is made possible in part by grants from the members of the National Education Association of New Mexico, an organization of professionals who believe that investing in public education is an investment in our state's economic future, and by a grant from the Healy Foundation, Taos, New Mexico.
Hello, I'm Lorene Mills, and welcome to Report from Santa Fe. Our guest today is Garrey Carruthers, and I don't know whether to introduce you as President, Doctor, Governor, Dean Carruthers. Welcome back to the show.
You can call me Garrey to get to know me better.
Okay, but really, you were a governor from 87 to 90.
Right.
You were the dean of the business school for 10 years in there. Uh-huh. You were a doctor because you got a Ph.D.
Right.
And now we welcome you as the president of New Mexico State University.
And I've been doing that for about 2.5 years and having a wonderful time.
Yes.
So I'll give you a little secret. If you want to stay young looking like myself,
yes,
at 76 years old, hang around with the students.
It's
fantastic.
True.
I love the students. Keeping me young and alive and alert, and so it's a great place for me to work at this time.
Well, you were the first Aggie, because you got a BA and a master's from state. You're the first Aggie to finally be the president.
I'm the only Aggie to ever be governor of New Mexico. I'm the only Aggie to ever be president of New Mexico State. Some tell me I'm the 27th governor of New Mexico and the 27th president of New Mexico State. So you'll see a lot of stuff with 27. Now, the governor is debatable. I think I'm the 24th president, but I think they didn't count some lieutenant governors who filled in for a short
24th governor.
Yeah, I think I'm the 24th, but they down there claim that I'm the 27th governor and the 27th president. So when you see my stuff, it has 27 on it.
All
so
right.
Anyway, I know I'm the 27th president.
And I know I wear the right color, I wear my Aggie colors today.
You got your Aggie gear on, yes.
Well, when you took over in 2013, you launched with this motto that is, I think, just brilliant. The part that I remember is caring community, transforming lives through discovery.
Right.
You are always about discovery. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I'll go through the whole thing quickly. Caring community came from our students. When we talk to our students, do focus groups, they say, this is like a community. This is like home. This is like family at New Mexico State. So, okay, caring community. Transforming lives is all you do in education anyway. That's not your. But through discovery is particularly keen, because when you go to college, that's when you discover your passion. You want to be an accountant, or you want to be a sociologist or an engineer. You discover a whole new set of friends. I mean, these are friends for a lifetime. Your best friends will always be the people you went to college with.
Yes.
And then we discover at New Mexico State, we have our science and engineering programs. We're discovering new chili. We're discovering new robots, doing that kind of thing. And then we have an extension service that discovers what the state needs from New Mexico State University for us to better serve them. So the discovery has to do with our students discovering themselves, our research and engineering, and our extension service. So that's where that came from.
And you actually go and visit all these county extension services. The one in Santa Fe I use all the time. Anytime I've got a question about bugs or trees or parasites or something, they're wonderful, and they're willing to come out and advise you. We're so lucky to have the county extension service. That's part of the whole land grant.
All land grant universities have an extension service. Ours is one of the better ones, I might add.
Yeah.
But we're a Carnegie Community Engagement University, very recently designated, about 350 of them in the country. And part of the reason we're considered a community engagement university is because of our extension service. We have a lot of other activities that reach out into the community, but our extension service is very good.
That's a huge honor for the Carnegie Foundation to name you the Community Engagement University. But you're gonna blush, but just this year you've gotten all these accolades. You're in the top tier of the famous U.S. News and World Report College Guide for 2016. You're in the top 25 universities in America for Hispanics. Mm-hmm. Okay, can we take a couple of more? Tell me what this value added by the Brookings Institute is, because you're in the top 10% of that. But what is this value?
What Brookings did was a study said, okay, students, this is a capability of the students that came into New Mexico State many years ago. How are they doing now financially at mid-career? And we have one of the highest value addeds. We take students, as you know, in our state, sometimes they come from rural schools and not as well prepared. We take those students, train them, they have a good work ethic, At mid-career, they have one of the highest value addeds of any university in the
Wow.
United States. We're in the top 10%. And so we think that's really cool. Our students are doing well. I think the average at mid-career is about $82,000, $84,000 a year.
Good. Good. I hope they're staying here in New Mexico and earning
Well,
that.
I can't tell you that they're doing that. But
Yeah. One other thing, you got the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, something called the Innovation and Economic Prosperity Award.
And that comes out of our Arrowhead operation. We have the Arrowhead Center there, and it's all about incubation, entrepreneurship, developing new companies, assisting companies in New Mexico. And so we've been acknowledged by Association of Public and Land Grant Universities as being one of these prosperity universities, dedicated in particular to training young people to be entrepreneurs. So we have a really good program down there. We just had a Shark Tank the other day, as a matter of fact, with 5 of our prominent business people, and it was our 3rd Shark Tank, and a young woman actually got some investment from these people for a piece of software that somehow analytically reads the brain and helps people that might have some kind of learning disability. So these are young people creating ideas. We take them to the Shark Tank, and then the Shark Tank asks them a bunch of questions, and one of them got some investment.
Oh, that is wonderful.
So that comes from that Prosperity University of trying to encourage young people to develop their own businesses, to promote the businesses, to find investment capital. And so I think one of the hallmarks of New Mexico State right now is our entrepreneurship programs.
Well, tell me, I wasn't going to get to this part yet, but I want to. So we know that New Mexico's economy has not bounced back from the 2008 recession. And when you look at the statistics in Albuquerque, the number of people leaving, the number of businesses leaving, what can you offer from the Arrowhead Institute and from state in general to help stem the losses and to help provide inspiration, maybe funding, who knows what, to help the whole New Mexico economy?
Well, we offer help to the whole New Mexico economy. We actually just hired an extension agent to extend our entrepreneurship and incubation services to the entire state. So
Great.
If you're a business in Raton and you have a new idea, something you think can be protected, and by the way, we're basically into new ideas and creating new businesses and new industry. We also have another unit called Small Business Development Centers, and they will help any business, whether you're trying to open a store, retail outfit, or something like that. So if you're doing that, there's one venue that you can go to. If it's a new idea, perhaps it needs to be patented or copyrighted,
They'll help
and you
you?
need to figure out a business plan how to do that, you come to the Arrowhead Center.
That's
And it
wonderful.
comes from anywhere in the state. And we've had probably hundreds of ideas from around the state. I've got this idea. I think it'll work. I think I can build a company on this. So they come to us and we help them.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. That's what I was hoping for. Another function of the Arrowhead Center is the Domenici Center.
Yes.
Talk about that, because every year you have this conference. You bring the national level minds to that Domenici conference.
It's considered the best public policy conference in the region, in large part because Senator Domenici can pick up the phone and call
Yep.
some important people
That's
and
right.
say, I have my conference, would you come out and talk to us? We were kind of highlighted this time by Governor Jim Hunt from North Carolina, who did exactly what you're talking about in North Carolina 20 years ago. Use your university system to build a strong economy. So we brought him out to talk to us about that, and he left us with several good ideas. Then another very popular speaker was former Secretary of Transportation, U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Mary Peters from Arizona, talking about the declining nature of our infrastructure and how if we don't begin to invest more in our infrastructure, all of us are going to have trouble with economic development, not just New Mexico, but we're not keeping our highways up, our bridges up, our sewer and water lines, our power lines. All of that infrastructure is declining, and we're not going to be competitive if we don't start making those investments. Two big highlights of our conference this year, well received by 1,000 people who subscribed to that.
Great. You have 2 other big projects on campus. I was so glad that you are doing the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine.
Right.
That's huge for the state. Talk to me about it.
It's a major investment by the Burrell Group. It's not owned by New Mexico State. It's hosted by New Mexico State. So while I serve on a board with the Burrell College, kind of an advisory board, it's a private enterprise on a public university. That's the way of the future in developing some of these programs going forward. We as a public could not afford another medical school in New Mexico. We already have a fine one at University of New Mexico. It's an excellent school. But I think they have opportunities for 125 students a year. We need more physicians. So when they approached me and said, would you mind hosting College of Osteopathic Medicine on campus, I said, I'll give it a look. And we did, and we became very excited about it for a number of reasons. In our part of the country, which is more rural than up here, believe it or not, we just can't find enough general practitioners to serve our population. We're right on the border. We have our own set of border health problems that need to be addressed. And so we began a negotiation. What's in it for New Mexico State? We're going to attract a whole lot of students who now want to be in the medical professions. Only about 200 of them a year can get into that college, but they're going to come to our university. We have nursing programs, kinesiology
Wait, they're going to do their
programs.
chemistry, they can do all their requirements?
And they give us a little money. We have $500,000 in scholarships that they'll offer to us, and we get land rent and utility rent and that sort of thing. Not a big financial deal with us, but it is a big deal for New Mexico in providing more physicians. It's a big deal to New Mexico State by bringing in a whole class of students who now want to be in the medical services business. Now, they may not all go to Burrell, but they'll qualify at New Mexico State, and they may go to UNM, or they may go to some other medical school.
Yeah. Any chance, you know what else we need is a dental school. Any room down there? Anybody talking to you about a dental school? Because they've tried at UNM for years.
Burrell College is rumored that might be their next step.
Oh, great. Oh.
But I don't want a veterinarian school. I don't want to deal with veterinarian schools. They are the most expensive thing in the world. And while we have all the animals in the world, we don't want to do veterinarians. It's cheaper to send our students to a Colorado State, Iowa State, Texas A&M, actually pay to train them, than it is to build your own school.
Well, you do. Well, maybe not the veterinary side. By the way, we're speaking today with Governor Garrey Carruthers, who's also the president of New Mexico State. One of your ideas that you had when you went in was to set up this heritage farm, right, kind of on the edge of the campus,
right,
for people who are at the convention center to study, but also for people to realize what we've done in agriculture in terms of chili and pecans and onions. And so we can have ag, but maybe not so much the animals. So talk to me about what you want to do with the heritage farm. Grapes, too. A vineyard?
We're going to have a vineyard there. We're probably going to put a winery there. Now the beer, the microbrewery people, they want a microbrewery there. By the way, we teach making beer at New Mexico State, believe it or not. So there's pressure to do that. We wanted to mark the west side of our campus as an agricultural school. And to do that, we have just a prime piece of property. It's right by the conference center, and we're negotiating to build a hotel right next to it. And then there's about 20 acres there that we can put into crops. And then we can show people what we have discovered in the way of chili varieties or grape varieties or pecan varieties, irrigation systems, those kind of things. And the center of it will be a building, an adobe building, that was on the campus when we bought the land to set up the campus in 1886. That building was there, and it's called the Seed House. And that's the name of it. It's called the Seed House. I actually went to school there. I learned about seeds there. So we're going to use the Seed House as the anchor place for an educational center, have all of our young students come in from the local public schools and learn about these crops and where these crops came from and the kind of research we do. Then next to it, just up the way, are the animals. But this is special to the kind of work we do in research at New Mexico State University and all the kinds of crops that we worked on over the years.
Now, also in your community, and I know you had something to do with this, is the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum. What a jewel that is. And if I must say, it is one of the best named buildings because they named it after Bruce King, Governor King.
Well, that's a natural, wasn't it?
Of course. Of course.
That's, by the way, on our campus, but that's actually managed by the state of New Mexico. We have 2,500 acres right around the campus, and so we use it for things of this nature. We have Barbara Hubbard, one of the icons in Las Cruces, who's the person who's brought in all the shows, the Garth Brooks and the George Straits and everything. She wants to put up a pavilion where we can do performance. We need a new rodeo arena, and we do equestrian at New Mexico State. We need an arena from them. We have so much land there that we're trying to develop either commercially or for purposes for our community.
Yeah.
The farm and ranch community is one, Heritage Farm is one. If we can do this pavilion she wants, that's another one, where the community and the university become one.
Oh, wonderful. One other thing, there is another building that is very aptly named by the state, and that is the Carruthers Building, which holds the state library and archives. It's perfect because you've always been for learning and education.
Right. And Governor Richardson asked me if he could do that, and bless him for doing that. I really appreciate it very much. But when he asked me what building, it came to mind that it had to have something to do with education. And it's
Yeah.
a great library. I know people
Oh,
who
it
use it
is.
for research all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little university stuff. I recently interviewed Janet Napolitano, who is a governor of Arizona, former Homeland Security Secretary, but now she's president of the University of California. And she's done some pretty bold things. One of the things she did was give a raise for all of her employees. She raised minimum wage to $15. The state of California wasn't doing it. The feds weren't doing it. She just said, that's it. We're doing it. Another thing that they're able to do in California, because their economy is booming now, is if the parents make less than $80,000 and the kid can get into the university system, they don't pay any tuition. And another issue...
They are booming if they can do that.
Yeah,
Those.
55% of their students are now under that arrangement.
Yeah. I wonder how they finance their university.
Because of the Research Institute aspect of it, and the out-of-state and out-of-country students pay a lot.
I'll give her some bad news.
What?
Research actually generally costs you more money than it produces.
well.
So she's doing it somewhere else. She must have a heck of an out-of-state tuition, but you cannot, and I'm not sure it's practical to have students come to a great university and not pay tuition. I think it's more practical to have them pay tuition and give them scholarships than it is to say, oh, this is a freebie. Students need to appreciate the fact that somebody sacrificed for them to be there.
Yeah, because that's another issue in the presidential campaign, which is somebody saying should be free junior college for everyone, free college for everyone. And
have you heard anybody talk about how they're going to finance it?
No, I don't hear that part of the
Those
equation.
are really big numbers you're talking about.
Yeah.
So they're going to take your house and your car just to have free community college and university tuition when you get through. It is a very expensive proposition. I go back to this. All students should have some skin in the game. They need to work. I worked my way through college, but I had scholarships as well. I have a much greater appreciation for what I got out of New Mexico State University and Iowa State because I did, in fact, have to kind of buckle down. And Kathy and I were married and had one child before I graduated with my bachelor's degree, but I went on to a master's and a doctoral degree, and I worked, and she worked part-time too. And so there's nothing wrong with having a little skin in the game, but we do need that support. We need scholarship support, we need internship support, we need all of that. But free tuition doesn't click with me right now.
Yeah.
God bless Napolitano if she can do it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. There's some New Mexico issues I'd like to talk with you about.
Okay.
You've got a tremendous water institute there.
Right.
So, and now we're seeing with this Godzilla El Nino that's supposed to be coming and all of this flooding in Texas. And what are you doing about the drought, Garrey?
Well, it's kind of interesting that people are willing to fund research for water resources when it's droughty.
Yeah.
But if it starts snowing like crazy this winter and continues to rain as it has in our part of the country, all of a sudden research and water resources will kind of go down the list of things we want to do. But what they're doing really is a whole lot of water planning. We are obligated to do appropriate water planning because Texas always wants our water, whether it's through the Pecos or they want it through the Rio Grande. They always want our water, and the courts have ruled if New Mexico can demonstrate into the future that they have a good and a beneficial use for that water, they can keep the water. But if we can't do that, then I think it jeopardizes the water going down the river. And so we're always in some kind of legal confrontation with Texas over this. So one of the things I think we're doing a much better job is trying to figure out how we're going to use this water, what kind of commitments are we going to make for the next 100 or 200 years.
Well, You'd always think, because Texas is always flooding, if they could just pipe it to other parts of their state,
Yeah.
and they could be self-sufficient and not need our water.
But it was only last year Dallas had a drought. Now
Yeah.
they're floating away. I'm going to San Marcos for a football game on Saturday, and the place is underwater. And all
can't-
that country was dry last year. Now it's all wet. I mean, it's
Yeah.
flooding. And you've seen the flooding across the southeast, and that's really dramatic. And I understand, and I hope you promise me, we'll get lots of snow up here in the mountains.
Oh, I hope
this
so.
winter, lots of snow, because it
all
eventually
comes-
comes down the river to see us.
Yes. Well, something else that seems to travel like water throughout New Mexico are these ethics problems that keep coming up. We
Oh, yeah.
have tried in the legislature, for 10 years to get an ethics commission. You have so much experience in so many levels of successful operations. What do you think we can finally do to bring the ethics out, to have accountability and to have some standards and educate? It's not even the punishment aspect of an ethics commission. It's the education aspect.
Mm-hmm.
This is wrong. I remember when Michael Montoya, the treasurer, was busted for a huge amount of graft and corruption. He simply said, but kickbacks is how we always do business
yeah.
in New Mexico. So we have to educate people that that's not the right way to do it.
We've made a lot of progress, and I have to give the Daniels Fund some credit. They've invested about $2.5 million at New Mexico State University in ethics and ethics training. I was a principal investigator on that. In that time, I co-chaired with the dean of the law school from UNM 2 different task forces to address ethics issues. We recommended an ethics commission. The ethics commission has to have the authority to subpoena records. And some reason that causes people to stand back. But if they can't subpoena records, I'm not sure they can do the right kind of investigation. I don't know how many more events that we're going to have in our state, like our Secretary of State, who is supposed to be protecting ethics. And
We're supposed to know all about campaign finance laws.
And finds herself in this pickle and having to resign. How many more of those events do we need before someone says, we need a commission with subpoena power to investigate at least complaints, so the citizens can say, look, I think something's wrong here. Right now, the citizens say all they want to. I think it's unethical. Where do they go? What do they do? They complain to the employer. Maybe the employer will listen. So I still believe, and I'll campaign again for an ethics commission, because I think it's absolutely essential. Many states have them already. They work
All
really well.
but 7. We are only one
we're
of
down?
7 that
Okay.
do not have ethics commissions.
But this event alone, if it doesn't do anything else but push us over the edge, it would have been a success, that something finally good happened from a bad behavior.
But, one of the laws that did get passed was that elected officials, if convicted of corruption and this sort of thing, would lose their pension. And here, through the maneuvering of
All you have to do is
lawyering-
avoid being convicted,
Yes,
which
exactly.
is resign.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I'm concerned about is that the citizenry just gets jaded and they
Yeah.
say, oh, they're all corrupt. We have wonderful politicians, wonderful lawmakers, wonderful university presidents who are doing so much to make a difference. And I want people, to have faith, to restore the faith somehow that someone is working for the good of New Mexicans.
There's been progress made, though. When we got the Daniels Fund grant, we began a program working with our county extension agents, which we mentioned earlier, and they had a thing called County College. And that county college was training employees at the county level about ethics. That's now morphed into a whole new program where you can get a certification. I think you get 16 credits, you become a certified advocate. It's a very successful program. Now the municipal league, the county employees, all of them now begin to use some of that training for their employees. So at least we're starting with the employees. We also have developed a film for state government, and it's one of those films that you watch a film a minute and then they ask you a question and you do 1 or 2, and if you get it right, you go on, and if you get it wrong, they go back and refresh your memory about it. I think that's going to be unveiled fairly soon, and we did that for the state of New Mexico. So we're going to begin at least to train the employees. Now, we need to start with training the managers, because oftentimes the managers are an issue, but not always. In our county, we had just a couple, 3 clerks selling data.
Oh, that's right.
From I think there were 3 people in the county clerk's office have just now admitted guilt, and I think it'll be sometime soon. But that's just people working in the office giving out data for money, obviously, for compensation. So sometimes I wonder if we shouldn't start with all of our managers and convince them what's ethical, let's understand ethics, what's right, what's wrong, and then we can work on the employees at the same time.
And also, if they are in some way held responsible for what their employees do, and the employee said, well, we didn't know, and the manager did know, then maybe there should be a little bit of penalty there. But who knows? It's like squishing mercury.
Yeah.
It's very, very...
Well, in the county treasurer's office, I was told that a lot of people knew that was going on, and nobody said anything.
Yes. Now, we've almost come to the end of our time. I understand that you have planned some efficiencies for New Mexico State looking at the future.
Right.
What are some of your plans?
We're trying to develop a sustainable university. Our population is not growing. We have 32 different institutions of higher education. Graduation rate's not improving. The market is kind of flat. So what you have to do is make sure your university is sustainable. So we're going to change our organizational structure. We're going to improve our purchasing. We're going to improve ICT, or it's called computers. And we're going to do some other things with finance to gain somewhere between $50 and $60 million of efficiencies over the next 6 years.
Great. Good work. Now, your theme is transforming lives through discovery. Is there something else that we have yet to discover in this conversation about what New Mexico State is doing?
Well, I think the thing that I've discovered since I've taken this job is just how great a university New Mexico State is. When I was dean of the College of Business, I was so proud of that college. But I was amazed at how little I knew about that university, even though I'm a graduate twice. I've worked around there for a long period of time. It is amazing the kinds of research we're doing out there. We have a cancer research team I didn't even know existed that's doing powerful stuff in this in cancer research. Everybody says you have to have a medical school to do it. No, you don't. Most of the research in cancer is not in medical schools. It's with biologists and chemists and microbiologists and that kind of thing. And so I was just blown away with the kind of work we were doing. And I was just there in my own little hut at the College of Business paying attention. Became president, and I discovered, wow, what a fantastic place. Also discovered athletic programs, which can be pro and con, depending upon whether you win or not. Also discovered personnel issues. Personnel issues, you'll spend more of your time during the day as a president of a university doing personnel than you ever did as a dean. So I've discovered a lot of things, but I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my great university, and particularly our students.
Well, you've helped us discover the wonderful things that you're doing, so I want to thank you. Our guest today is Garrey Carruthers, the president of New Mexico State University, former governor, former dean of the College of Business at State. Thank you for coming in and telling us what's going on.
Always a pleasure. Delighted to anytime.
Thank you. And I'm Lorene Mills. I'd like to thank you, our audience, for being with us today on Report from Santa Fe. We'll see you next week.
Past archival programs of Report from Santa Fe are available at the website reportfromsantafe.com. If you have questions or comments, please email info@reportfromsantafe.com. Report from Santa Fe is made possible in part by grants from the members of the National Education Association of New Mexico, an organization of professionals who believe that investing in public education is an investment in our state's economic future, and by a grant from the Healy Foundation, Taos, New Mexico.